So, have your neighbors started asking you yet? What is crypto? What is blockchain? What's that Bitcoin thing? No, not yet. That's cool. Just remember this. Regardless of the price action, folks, the people behind these networks, they wake up every day and they still build. They're still going to build regardless of the price action. The people behind the networks will still build. We've had a lot of surprises this week in the crypto space, guys, starting with Huma Finance. They're helping to bridge the gap between the retail space and the blockchain world using both Solana and Stellar Lumens. In addition, an analytics firm, Artemis, has published a stablecoin report that has finally revealed who the real king of the stablecoin market truly is. I promise y'all, you're not gonna believe it. And perhaps our biggest story of the week, guys, we have a new council member for Hedera, Aero Electronics. They're a parts manufacturer, software supplier, but they're looking to get involved with Hedera to address issues with the supply chain. Lots of exciting things to talk about in this show. If you're new, welcome. My name is Wade. I've been in this space since 2019. I've researched a boatload of assets, but the number one reason I run this show is to share all the knowledge of blockchain with you. All I'm asking in return, you find value, hit that subscribe button. In exchange, I got a few tokens of appreciation for you. Let's hop over to the terminal so we can check these out. Starting with the new financial system master sheet. This is a collection of the assets that we cover on this channel. And you can see the organizations here that you can use as keys to your research. That is why I put this together. It pairs well with the other educational materials that we have, the DHN 100, top 100 utility-driven blockchain networks. Look at this as a piece of reference material to, again, point you in the right direction. That's my only goal, especially with pieces like Blockmaster. No investment decision is going to benefit you without fundamental knowledge of what you're investing in. We invest in crypto. We invest in blockchain. Blockmaster will teach you everything you need to know about it before you even get started. So, other ways to support the channel, guys. I have been neglecting one of our most important partners, guys, SafePal. They've been with me going on 3 years now, right? But the hardware wallet space, it isn't as popular as it should be, but I'm going to make a point to fix that. Down in the link in the description, guys, and in the pinned comment under this video, you will see the link to SafePal. I urge you to get a hardware wallet device because if we go into a bear cycle, these exchanges, they get sketchy. A lot of things tend to happen in the bear market. People panic, and we're not just talking about investors. Owners, builders, everybody goes crazy. This hardware wallet device got me through the last bear market. I have tokens on my SafePal now that I completely forgot about, guys. So, and as you can see, this is the most cost-effective solution on the market when it comes to cold storage and crypto. Links, again, down in the description as well as the pinned comment. And then, of course, we can't forget about Uphold, affiliate partner with them, guys. Been using them since 2020. So I'm not just a customer or not just an affiliate, but I'm also a customer. And anything that I'm going to use, I'm definitely going to recommend it to you guys. So now that all of that is out the way, let's get the show started, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start with the macro perspective. The Genius Act, quite possibly the most important piece of legislation that we've seen in this state, in this country in years, goes to a vote this month, and there will be certain changes to the bill that were kind of injected after the last voting session that we saw earlier last month. These 4 key changes here that I have highlighted stand out to me the most because I feel like they're going to have the most immediate impact on the market. Starting with the justification for safe harbor exceptions. This is to address foreign investment into U.S. treasuries. Because another big thing about this story is the fact that U.S. treasuries make up such a large amount of the current stablecoin market. This Genius Act is looking to implement, as they say in point two, oversight of foreign stablecoins and oversight in general to make sure that investing into US treasuries is not off balance, that we don't have more foreign parties investing in our treasuries than we do. Now, to that point, I'm not a finance guy. It may already be that way. Research pending, right? Third point here, though, stricter requirements for reciprocal agreements with foreign regulators. So, I believe those two things, specifically these last 2 points, oversight on foreign stables, stricter requirements, that's aimed at Tether because they're a foreign stablecoin issuer. But as we'll find out in just a few minutes in the next segment here, oh boy, do they have a grip on this market. But this last one here, restrictions on non-financial public companies. That's a shot. That is literally them picking up the rifle, okay? Tweaking the scope, you know, blowing the dust off of it and going pow pow, Meta, pow pow, Amazon, taking you out, pow pow, Microsoft, because don't even try that. Meta was getting ready to, remember? We were just talking about it. Meta considering using stablecoins for cross-border payments. We discovered that a current board member for the Stellar Development Foundation was brought in to MetaPay to help make this happen. But if these changes that are now into the Genius Act, they get voted on and it passes, that's going to kill that whole initiative. Or it will force companies like a Meta, companies like Amazon or Microsoft or who else may want to get involved in the stablecoin game, it will force them to go directly to public networks that are already supporting these stablecoins that they want to use. Because remember, MetaPay's whole thing was we didn't want to create our own stablecoin. There's a bunch of them on the market. Let's just pick one, integrate it into our system, and make them trillionaires. If they pick USDC, understand the setup will look like this. Meta goes with USDC, makes it the main stablecoin in MetaPay. The wallets that will be on particular chains like Solana, Stellar, Algorand, Hedera, Avalanche, and all of the other USDC compatible networks, it'll be those wallets that will be able to speak with, for lack of better terms, MetaPay's infrastructure. And that's how the stable coins will then be moved across the public blockchain networks. And that will create an environment where the main entryways to get into MetaPay to make the most benefit from it will be these public networks that USDC is connected to. Right? Now, another reason for the changes here, and I got these numbers from RWA.xyz when we're looking at stablecoins. Total market cap for stablecoins, last check this morning, $275 billion. 275, ladies and gentlemen. Last year at this time, that was 183. Lots of movement. But what is being highlighted here by members of the government is the 6.7 billion of those stablecoins that are in US treasuries. There's a bit of concern when they look at that number and they look at everything that Donald Trump is doing with Dubai and his several crypto related entities. So I understand the concern. I genuinely do. And like I mentioned, this key piece about restrictions on non-financial public companies, that's going to force non-financial public companies who may want to implement a stablecoin directly to the public networks. Most likely, the network that is now publicly listed officially as of today in Circle. And again, through Circle, Circle is only running and compatible with certain public networks. I hope you guys understand what I'm getting at here. This is a win. Circle going public is a win for all of the networks that Circle has put on up to this point. That's genuinely how I'm seeing this, right? So with the changes to the Genius Act, guys, we have to look forward to a vote later this month. And if that vote passes, then the stablecoin market here in the United States is going to look completely different, a total 180 by next Christmas, right? So, to that point of stablecoins, let's dive deeper into a report that has come out courtesy of Artemis, Castle Island Ventures, and Dragonfly. There's a few other names involved as well. Excuse me, people that contributed to the research. But you can find it, it's free. They're putting this thing out. Stablecoin payments from the ground up. What this report focuses on is specifically stablecoin payments, the networks and the geographic locations where the most stablecoin payments are taking place. Not just stablecoins being used for trading or people holding them, but people in places where stablecoins are used like fiat. That's what makes this data so interesting because I've never seen it anywhere before. Visa and other analytics sites they kind of gather all of the data, the trading, the payments, the holdings, everything. So that unfortunately distorts the information. What Artemis put together is a lot more accurate in telling us what exactly these stablecoins are being used for. So this is where things get really, really surprising. So they sampled about 32 firms here. And out of the 32 firms that they sampled, stablecoin payments by token, USDT, dominated the landscape. Okay? And this is across the board. When they get into the geographic breakdowns by country or regions, they break it down by regions because there's a section in there for the Americas that includes Canada, Mexico, South America, like that, right? Even still, Tether. Okay? But you can see here, over the last 2 years, that's another important thing. Over the last 2 years, these have been the numbers. Now, I personally believe this current bull cycle that we're in started in 2023. Started in September of 2023, to be precise. Another reason I find this interesting, guys. But you can see here, stablecoin payments by token. Tether has a significant advantage. Okay? When we go a little bit deeper, stablecoin volume by chain. Out of the 32 firms that they surveyed, and of those firms include Binance, Huma, another company started with an R. We'll break them down in just a moment. But of those companies that they surveyed, Tron, Ethereum, Polygon, Binance, and Solana are the most used for stablecoin payments. Again, peer-to-peer, business to consumer, business to business. You'll see that in the report as well. Those are the types of payments that they're referring to. So when it comes to those particular arrangements, B2B, B2C, peer-to-peer, these are the 5 networks that are moving all of the money around. And you can see how deep the red is. That red is Tron. It's Tron. It really has me rethinking Tron, man. It really does. Because a lot of people gave Tron a lot of heat, mainly because of Justin Sun's involvement. But you have to understand, in the last 2 years, since 2023, if I'm not mistaken, Justin Sun has not been in charge of Tron. Tron is an independent, completely decentralized system running all types of applications, from payments, as we can see here, to gaming, down to gaming. Tron was actually the first place where I learned DeFi. Okay, I was using Just Lend. This was back in 2020. You know, it was where I learned that when it comes to staking, you definitely need a lot of upfront. All right. But I was also able to experience airdrops and NFTs, trading, and all of that because DeFi activities on Tron are cheap. I was going to say virtually free, but nothing is free. But they're so cheap and everything moves so quickly. Like there was an exchange I used a whole lot, and I even covered this asset back in the day. Clever. Clever originally started on Tron. And I'm telling you, man, they moved a lot better when they were on Tron. No knocking their current chain. Every time a network makes that choice, it's always an uphill climb afterwards. But y'all was doing pretty good on Tron. Okay? I'm not going to turn into a Tron maxi here. But what I'm showing you are the numbers, the proof in that pudding. When it comes to stablecoins, the two kings right now are Tron and Tether. And when I urge you to download this report, because you're also going to find out that specifically here in the United States, the two most dominant stablecoin networks are Tether and Tron. The concentration, as a matter of fact, is 75-25. Tether wins here in the United States. So even with Circle going public, they still got about 60 to 70% ground to cover. All the more reason why, if we go back to our first segment, talking about the Genius Act, the restriction of non-financial, the restriction of the foreign interest, the added requirements for the foreign issued stablecoins, right? That is going to put extra pressure on Tether to, as they say that they wanted to do, create their own US version of a stablecoin. But I truly don't understand that. Why not just make Tether compliant here in the United States? Just admit what it's backed by and everything will be okay. But at the same time, that could also be a double-edged sword because of how deep Tether is in the crypto space. So these numbers are very interesting, man. Artemis shook the market up with this one. And it really has me considering making a move into Tron. Because when I first got into this market, Tron was an under 8-cent coin. Under 8 cents. Since 2023, Tron has sustained price levels of plus 20 cents. That's very interesting. And now looking at this report, I'm going to go ahead and guess that a large part of that is coming from the stablecoin activity on the network. So very interesting, guys. You got to love the numbers. That's why I love crypto. But with that right here, we're going to take a little break, run an ad real quick. When we come back, we got some blockchain gaming to discuss. See you in a second. Hey guys, I got a quick message for you. Let's say you're looking to buy some crypto, like the ones mentioned in this video. Consider using our crypto exchange partner, Uphold. With Uphold, you get access to more than 200 crypto assets through its simple-to-use trading platform. Uphold has been around more than a decade, so it is a name you can trust. With over $2 billion in reserves and $44 billion in trading volume, I've yet to lose a trade on Uphold. To the more experienced investor out there, Uphold also has a line of precious metals and national currencies for more diversification. For me, I'm having fun using Uphold's baskets tool. Uphold lets us set aside a certain amount of money to invest in different sectors of crypto. With one click, you can diversify into the big three, meme coins, or the financial assets like Hedera, Stellar, and XDC. But listen, crypto assets are very volatile, and it is always best to manage your risk and do your own research before using any platform. I recommend Uphold because before I was an affiliate, I was and still am a user. So if you use the link below, it helps support the channel. I want to thank you in advance. So welcome back. What is the number one thing that I love about blockchain games? It's not the integration of Web3 and Web2 and the digital ownership. No. My favorite thing is the new IPs, the new ideas, the new characters, the new worlds that are being created on these blockchain networks, guys. And we got a new one courtesy of Immutable X, guys. The name of this title is Tokyo Beast. Fly, very fly. What we have here is another turn-based strategy battler. Looks like Smash Brothers Melee, plays like an old Final Fantasy copy. But what I find to be the most interesting about this title is how they use NFTs. Not only in the game, but in the lore, the story behind the game. Okay? Because I need to preface this segment with a very powerful point. Last year, guys, I experimented with some other YouTube channels and some other niches. One of those niches was pop culture. I'm talking film, video games, comic books, superheroes, all of that stuff. I messed around in that realm for about a year and a half or so, and that gave me more than enough time to really gauge how the people felt about the IPs of today. They suck. Okay, why did How to Train Your Dragon and the first Matrix drop in the same week? Didn't we already have these movies? Disney has, if I'm not mistaken, 4 sequels lined up over the next 5 years. 4 sequels. To what? We've seen it. No one needs another Toy Story film. We don't. We don't need no more Marvel movies. Okay? We just don't. Simply put, guys, when you get off into that pop culture world, there is a huge appetite for new IP and new stories. And that is what I see being created on the blockchain. All the more reason why this particular title, because Immutable is dropping titles all the time, all right? The reason why this particular title caught my attention is because they're doing it in a whole new way. Typically, when you get involved with a Web3 game, you have to purchase an NFT. This NFT typically grants you access. The NFT is often the character that you play with. That's currently the model when it comes to blockchain games. Problem with that, though, NFT characters are expensive. Plus, you got people who are just gamers and not really blockchain natives having to now learn Ethereum or Solana or, any other type of interface before they can even play the game. By the time they get to the gameplay, they're no longer interested. Understandably so. Well, Tokyo Beast took a whole different route here, ladies and gentlemen. See, you don't necessarily need the NFT to play the game. But if you want to progress in the game and increase the value of your NFT, that's where things get interesting. Because Tokyo Beast, let's first focus on how they're implementing the NFT into the game. When you start the game, you begin with your Beast NFT, okay? This is on the Web3 side. This is what Immutable will be supporting. This is where the digital assets that are associated with your character, that's where they'll live. You'll, if I'm not mistaken, also be able to access the game through Immutable's passport. Oh, and to that point, if I don't have it here, let me just add it now. Immutable has their own chain. They have taken the ZK EVM tech that they got from Polygon and just packaged it all up into one box that's set to launch later this year. I'll definitely be covering that. But you start with your NFT that's on the Web3 side. The game itself is on Web 2 servers running a Web 2 game engine with Web 2 graphics, which is perfectly fine because in a minute I'm going to show you the Japanese gaming giants that they're backed by. Okay. That's completely fine because that is also another feature you'll see in current blockchain gaming models. They're not completely Web3 as of yet because blockchain in and of itself isn't capable of handling processing power to generate graphics. That's just something I don't think blockchain will ever be able to do. It can support as a backend for a Web2 GPU, okay? Or in the case of Render, which is what Render does, it can support a Web2 GPU. But as far as a fully fledged Web3 title, we're some years away. I like this arrangement though, because on the Web 2 side, as you can see, the proxy beast, the data from the NFT that you have is in these proxy beasts, which are free, playable, and they roam about the world, if I'm not mistaken, because there's also an element where if other players get into the game and they play with one of your proxies, that increases the stats of the proxy. The stats that are increased in the proxy beast are translated into the stats and the value of the NFT. So imagine it like this. You like to play sports. Let's say 2K, for example. You go into the creator player setting. Let's say you progress through the season. You get all the awards: in-season MVP, Rookie of the Year, Finals MVP. You get the whole nine, scoring title, all that good jazz, right? And all of those extra awards and those stats are added to your player. Now your overall is 89 and 90 after first season, right? What if you can take that guy and what if you could take that character and sell it on a 2K marketplace at a 90 overall? And let's just say the exchange rates for players at a 90 overall is plus $1,000 or plus 1,000 ETH. That is what's so unique to me when I look at this title, guys. Now, that is how it works on the game side. And the fact that now the NFT value is no longer tied to the Tokyo Beast brand name or Immutable's brand name. It's all dependent on the player and the individual player's abilities. That's going to change the game because now that gives the NFT purpose, and a purpose that is not attached to the success of the company producing the NFT, which, from a legal standpoint, definitely harder to call it in security if it's based on player performance and not company performance or protocol performance. You're not buying the NFT with the expectation of receiving a return, not in the sense of an investment contract, but you're investing in the NFT expecting a return on your investment through the form of increased abilities and more access within the game. In the future, on their roadmap, they do want to set up a marketplace. So let's say you grind out on this game for a year, you max your character up to the peak, and when the marketplace launches, your NFT is one of the most valuable around. And the best part about it, you worked for it. That's going to change the dynamic here, folks. Okay? When you're looking into blockchain games, other guys will point you towards a chart and some trading and some leverage. That ain't what I'm going to do. I'm going to point you to the gaming projects that are developing the next era of IP because, like I told you, people are sick of what we have now. They're sick of Disney. They're sick of Marvel. And if DC don't get it together, people going to be tired of them. Even Netflix is starting to run dry. And with Peacock, Amazon, and the rest of them trying to play catch up, the media landscape right now, okay? ESPN lost about 35 million viewers over the last 2 years. That's why they're all trying to consolidate into an app and hop on to the streaming platforms. See, the streaming platforms, they've genuinely shifted things because now, because streaming allows you to put up so much more content, it dilutes the quality of the content, which creates a very beautiful environment if you're a creative. Because now we got the opportunity to create new IPs that will reign for the next 100 years. And here's the crazy part. Blockchain may not be able to process graphics, but if you put a comic book or a manga or a video or an animated film on blockchain, it will last forever. It will last forever. And wouldn't you know it, Tokyo Beast is about that life as well. They're about the animation lifestyle, which lends me to the second point, the second key piece that I want to share about this title. And I brought it up before in relation to blockchain gaming, especially on Immutable, titles like Metalcore, Haven's Compass. Tokyo Beast also plans to get into the realm of animation. They want to create an animated IP around the Tokyo Beast world. And what's so interesting is when you read into their white paper, they tell you their origin story. I'll summarize it like this. In a dystopian future, humans use NFTs as financial tools of oppression. Replicants are the cybernetic byproduct of the NFT. The Tokyo Beast are the digitized versions of the NFT in beast form, and it's up to the replicants to use the beast, battle each other, gain recognition and wealth in order to break out of the oppressive rule of the humans. Come on, man. I would sit there for hours. Okay, look, I don't care how old I get. I'm a nerd. That's not gonna change. I tell my wife that all the time. You married a nerd. Don't look at me like that. You married a nerd. Okay? But I also understand how much money is in this fandom, is what they called it. This fandom culture. Is so much bread in it, guys. And I was talking about the companies that are backing specifically a TGT token. There will be a token involved with this Tokyo Beast game. It's called TGT. It will have certain functionalities, utility, and it'll also have a market value. You'll be able to trade it on Binance, Bybit, and other exchanges. That's cool. The companies behind that token are Cygames and Gumi. I did a little research. Come to find out, both Cygames and Gumi are leaders in the Japanese media market, and they've been around about 20 years apiece. They're recently breaking off into the realm of emerging technologies, and they just so happen to pick blockchain up. So, once again, when it comes to Immutable, they're adopting titles that always have very interesting connections, especially in the world of media and entertainment. And to bring the point home about the power of fandom, I used to know a creator here on the platform. Their channel still exists. He built an entire brand around fan theories. His name is MatPat, and he created the channels Game Theory, Film Theory, Food Theory, and Style Theory. Absolutely genius, okay? Absolutely genius. But it was the film theory and the game theory of sorts that put him on the map. Film theory specifically, he was following a franchise called Five Nights at Freddy's. He followed this franchise, making video after video after video for years. Years, ladies and gentlemen. But this content helped him get film theory to over 10 million subscribers. He's one of the biggest platforms on YouTube, and it was because of fandom. Here's the kicker. Five Nights at Freddy's published they dropped a movie last year. He was in it. Now, again, that may not be the typical, central bank world changing global financial inclusion discussion that we typically have. But guys, when people start to find the connections that are just as profound in the blockchain space, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to make the same moves. I love blockchain gaming, Web3, because they're tapping into that. They're bringing in your streaming platforms, your Twitch streamers, YouTube streamers. I know the celebrity element sometimes has its disadvantages, but when we bring in names like Animoca Brands, Ubisoft, Cygames, Gumi, Square Enix, when those names start to get interested in blockchain, then blockchain and the technologies associated become household names. Household names. And imagine what the valuations will be then when they're household names. So, to wrap it all up, guys, be on the lookout for Tokyo Beast. If you're holding Immutable, just know they dropped another one. All right? They dropped another one. And I'm getting ready to put my portfolio together for this year, going forward into next year. And you can guarantee Immutable, it's got a comfortable spot in it. for sure. So, with that, guys, let's jump forward, talk a little DeFi. Huma Finance runs on Solana, backed by Stellar, has joined the global dollar network to advance stablecoin adoption on Solana. Granted, but when I tell you where Stellar is plugged into this, it's going to blow your mind. But Huma is proud to announce its official membership in the Global Dollar Network, a coalition of prominent enterprises dedicated to promoting the adoption of stablecoins via aligned initiatives, regulatory clarity, and worldwide utility. Initiated by Paxos and supported by Global Dollar USDG, this network features notable members including Robinhood, Kraken, Anchorage Digital, Nueve, and WorldPay. So, prominent names, big players in the space. We already know how Paxos is coming. We know how Kraken is coming. Shout out to them. They launched their Inc. blockchain. The branding. Kraken, Inc. Because it's a genius. Okay, Anchorage, Nueve, WorldPay. We know those names. Huma Finance was relatively new to me. However, when I read the headline, it did ring a bell, and I was starting to wonder why. Well, you see, not only is the Global Dollar Network very deep, back in when Huma Finance kicked off, one of their primary investors was the Stellar Development Foundation. And in the press release that Huma has on the funding round, they mentioned that they would soon be integrating what they call PayFi into the Stellar blockchain. That PayFi is what attracted the attention of the Global Dollar Network in the first place. Now, the Global Dollar Network also has some familiar names that we recently just talked about, specifically Rain, the Visa-backed stablecoin debit card issuer that also incorporated Solana and Stellar. Funny how that works. Multi-chain things. That's what we're going to start calling them. Oh, that's a multi-chain thing. You know, multi-chain things. But we got other names on here. Arculus, Beam, which is another actually gaming project to the point of our previous segment, who is making the transition to be an infrastructure network. So they want to support multiple use cases, gaming, AI, maybe even supply chain technology. They're under a rebrand for sure right now, but Beam is someone you want to watch. Very low cost asset as well. Alfred, I know, works with Stellar. Dreyfus DBS, Paxos, Sling Money, PDAX, CoinMina. CoinMina has worked with Ripple. That I do know. But this is the Global Dollar Network that Huma Finance is now a part of. And their USDG Global Dollar recently launched on Solana. So that's another win. I'm telling you, despite all of the energy that people like to give Solana, they putting in work. They're putting in the work. But this also opens up what is called the PayFi ecosystem. This was actually created, within the last 6 or 7 months, because Masari published a report, which we'll touch on in a second, that was dated in January of this year. So this PayFi ecosystem is fairly new, but you can see right away some very recognizable names. Chainlink. We got Bridge.io. Lots of discussion about them. They're now a Stripe company. Stripe is also listed here under payment infrastructures, which is also very key as well. Notice how they're categorized based on where they fit in the entire scheme. Under cross-border payments, we got our guys Bitso. Bitso Business just partnered with the XDC network to that point. So did Zoth under the trade finance arm. They brought in XDC into their umbrella. Under card issuers, you got Visa, you got Red.Pay, and you also have Rain, who we were just mentioning, who brought in Stellar, Solana, and Tron. Of course, they did brought in Tron into their network. Go back down to the payment infrastructure, guys. Request Network. Okay. This is my only issue with the guys at Zebek. I listened to a Twitter space where he said verbatim, we are the first payroll company in crypto. And my brother, that's not the case. Request beat you there. Okay? They tailored their service to focus specifically on invoices, but when they got here, it was payroll. And I believe they still have tech for payroll. So all the more reason why when I first saw Zebek, heard the value prop, I said, that's going to work because I've seen it work in the past. Request Network may not have the best marketing, or they're not always on Twitter trying to catch attention, but they got the partnerships, they got the software, and they're being used. Clearly, they've been added into this PayFi ecosystem. So we also got Yellow Card, Farm Bank, Coins PH, and Banksa, of course, work with Stellar. And to that point, transaction layer, there are only two networks here, Solana and Stellar. SNS right there, the SNS connection. It don't get no better than that. So I like this development here. Huma Finance getting involved with the Global Dollar Network, bringing in the entire PayFi ecosystem that they've created. This will benefit Solana and Stellar Lumens. Now, interesting point I want to leave you with here. We covered the stablecoin report. The only other networks mentioned in that report, but the numbers weren't high enough, were Solana and XRP. XRP was in there. Okay, 10% in the Japanese market. That's all XRP. All right, but it's running Tether. So yeah, there's that. And Solana was in there with a little concentration in India, if I'm not mistaken, largely running USDC. Point I'm making is, when it comes to the payments from a retail perspective, the biggest ecosystem right now that is bridging the gap is Huma Finance's PayFi, which leverages Solana and Stellar. You can't beat that, guys. You can't beat that. Gotta love it. But this is the report that I was mentioned to about Huma Finance. I would definitely advise you to take a second, download this. Another one that's absolutely free. You can see Solana Foundation, Stellar Dev right there. It gives us even more insights on the mechanics, what specific components of Stellar and Solana are being used in the PayFi ecosystem. Definitely worth the read, guys. But right here, before we get to our last block, we're going to take another break. When we get back, we're going to be discussing Arrow Electronics' new addition as Hedera's governing council member. Stay tuned. Hey guys, I got a quick message for you. Let's say you're looking to buy some crypto, like the ones mentioned in this video. Consider using our crypto exchange partner, Uphold. With Uphold, you get access to more than 200 crypto assets through its simple-to-use trading platform. Uphold has been around more than a decade, so it is a name you can trust. With over $2 billion in reserves and $44 billion in trading volume, I've yet to lose a trade on Uphold. To the more experienced investor out there, Uphold also has a line of precious metals and national currencies for more diversification. For me, I'm having fun using Uphold's baskets tool. Uphold lets us set aside a certain amount of money to invest in different sectors of crypto. With one click, you can diversify into the big three, meme coins, or the financial assets like Hedera, Stellar, and XDC. But listen, crypto assets are very volatile, and it is always best to manage your risk and do your own research before using any platform. I recommend Uphold because before I was an affiliate, I was and still am a user. So if you use the link below, it helps support the channel. I want to thank you in advance. How y'all loving this long form format? It feels like an actual podcast now. I said I called it a podcast for months before I actually made it one. Manifestation at its finest. But let's get into the story. Arrow Electronics joins Hedera Council to advance supply chain solutions. reading from Hedera's blog, well, quoted, Arrow Electronics provides enterprise computing solutions for a wide variety of applications. Company is based in Sentinel, Colorado, and caters to a diverse array of industries such as aerospace and defense, healthcare and medical, industrial sectors, and transportation. Sounds like Tata, governor council member for Hedera. At one point, I need to double check that site because I don't think I've seen it there. We were on the way to 33, number 33, but they rebranded, and I realized Arrow is now 32, and we already had 32. So that means somebody's gone. Nevertheless, that's what that reminds me of. But Arrow is exploring the development of a DLT-based supply chain use case built on Hedera. The initiative will focus on enabling real-time visibility into the movement of goods across complex multi-party supply chains, facilitating automated compliance checks, and enhancing predictive logistics capabilities for global manufacturing and distribution systems. So, unlike when we first began reading into Hedera and their work on the supply chain with companies in the realm of fashion like Mio and Atma, or when it comes to the food traceability side and their work with the Fresh Supply Co., we now have a deeper understanding of what blockchain does specifically for supply chains. All the more reason why I put together that Blockmaster. What we learn is, specifically when it comes to supply chains, blockchains, DLTs like Hedera are best at recording when events happen. And when you're dealing with multiple people on a supply chain, that type of information is the equivalent of a gold bar. Okay? When you're able to record when events happen, where, and what was all in that event, and move that information around efficiently throughout the supply chain process, then you're increasing the entire process. Essentially, workflow. That was the word that I'm looking for. You're increasing the workflow by having that information readily available. And we've also seen how Hedera is being used as a backstop for artificial intelligence. In the relationship that they had with Equity Lab and NVIDIA, if I'm not mistaken, where they're using the verified compute. So wherever a language learning model, which is the tech behind all these AI applications, wherever the LLM gets its information from, Hedera now has the ability to store and catalog those registries. So that way the LLM can get that information faster, only improving the AI software that's using that particular LLM. That's fascinating. Take that same concept and apply it to a supply chain use case where, let's say you need a particular shipment to go out in the dead of night. No physical human is in place. If you had a smart contract that automatically kicks on at a certain time, prints out the packing slip with all of the relevant information, and okay, we're talking a little bit in the future here, but you can attach that sucker to a drone. If we're moving something small here, attach that sucker to a drone, because up the street from Hedera's main headquarters is Walmart and Neuron and other companies building drones that fly themselves. Okay, you can take that information, put it into the drone. Your delivery is done. By the time you're waking up, you got your money, the package has been sent, and everything and everyone is complete. Now I have a completely different understanding of this, and I'm even more excited. Now, to this point, just want to interject here. When I posted this in the community tab, y'all did not take too kindly. what? Nobody? Y'all not rocking with Hedera no more? Nobody rocking with Hedera no more? Has there been too many leadership changes? Is it too little price action? I don't understand. I think the tech is still cool. I like the blue. It's a little bit Honolulu blue, right? Go Lions. Okay, we ready the Hutchatron has returned. I'm cooking. Y'all cooked. I'm just, excuse me. But I was just taken back by the reaction, guys. I think this is a good setup. And then also, Arrow themselves, they are going through what is called a 5 years out initiative. This is to explore innovative technologies for innovative solutions. They have an initiative basically to further explore blockchain technologies. So they may just not stop at Hedera. They could keep on going. And either way, that would be a benefit for the space. I'll tell you like this, guys. Even though we may not see fantastical applications yet and insane adoption numbers, you have to remember all of this is only 15 years old. It has been around much longer in theory and in study and in people's white papers. Yes, going back as far back as the 80s and the 70s. But as far as its public iteration, what it looks like today that stemmed the crypto exchanges and the pushback from legacy media and the control from certain corporations and the rise of the social media influencer and the YouTuber and the crypto YouTuber, this era of blockchain is only 15 years old. The networks that the companies are coming to first will be the flagpoles for the industry going forward 15, 20, 25, 30 years. That's how you got to look at it. I was really thinking about that last night, man, just how early we are. Very early. Okay? Think of it this way. I was reading, because I'm obsessed with sports broadcasting now, right? And I was just reading the old books where how they described the process 30 some years ago when TV and radio was just getting started, when football here in the United States had just became a thing. You know, the NFL, it took 25 years for the NFL to reach the current form that it is in. And this was even still before they were allowing field goals and you couldn't you couldn't pass it. Okay. Well, there was passing, but none of that drop back, spin around, break a tackle, then send it 45 yards. No, there was none of that. The game was still very much like cramped, not very flexible. But even with that, it took 25 years for the rest of the United States to even respect it as a sport, for the government to give it clearance to operate in multiple states. It took even longer for them to get owners for the teams. We are in that phase for blockchain. And to those who aren't willing to stick around for the dirty stuff, you'll never get clean, my boy. Now, let's continue on here, guys, because Arrow does have a real world impact. And y'all know I love me some racing. If you don't know, you do now. They were recently at the Detroit Grand Prix, guys, and Arrow, their team is actually run by Tony Kanaan. Now, when I tell you the story about my earliest job at Belle Isle Grand Prix, which is what the Detroit Grand Prix used to be called when it was on the aisle. When it was on the aisle, I worked it, 13 years old. And one of the two people I got to meet was Danica Patrick and Tony Kanaan. And again, now I am seeing these same figures and people and logos and companies popping back up in the field that I'm working in now. What is it? Full circle, right? That's what they call these moments, full circle moments. But I show that because Arrow has a real world impact. Along with the IndyCar team, there are boot camps, startups, accelerators helping kids all across the country get into technology. So we're talking about curriculums focused on STEM, things like that. So although the relationships that Arrow has now with Hedera may not be publicly facing. It may not be all over the race cars yet. Once the industry itself reaches a level of maturity, companies like Arrow can just wait a minute. Oh, I got Hedera. You want some Hedera? That's how I look at this space, man. And that's really what keeps me coming back. So, with that, guys, that's all I got for this show. Of course, if you made it all the way to the end, I need you to do something for me real quick. Drop DHN down in the comments. Not only will that let me know who's really rocking with the boy, but it will address these scam comments. I do not know what's going on. Okay, guys, I have filtered out so many freaking words. I just can't do it no more. I don't know what's happening. All the more reason why I say we are so early. Our industry ain't even getting respect on the platforms that we're making money. We're making these platforms money by what we're talking about. And we can't even get enough respect to get our comments filtered. Same thing happens on Twitter. So in order for us to fix that, y'all, we got to get crazy in the comments. Real people, real words, real stories. Let me hear them. And of course, drop DHN down there. We'll just start there. So with that, y'all know I got to remind you about the educational materials. New Financial System Master Sheet. This is your key piece of research material if you really want to get deep, as well as the DHN 100, top 100 utility-driven blockchain networks, and Blockmaster. Between these two documents, guys, you won't need to go anywhere else, honestly. And on top of that, all of the networks that you'll see in the list of 100, I guarantee you I've already covered on the channel or will be covering on the channel. So I attempted to make the library as cohesive with the content that you see already as possible. So that way it creates that synergy, what they call it. Yeah. So check out these educational materials. And again, ways to support the channel. I am an affiliate with SafePal, but you can see it's the most cost-effective solution on the market when it comes to cold storage of your crypto. And you're going to need an exchange to send that crypto from. I would recommend Uphold. So with that, guys, y'all know what time it is. I want to thank you for rocking with me throughout the entire show. Okay. Like I said, we early, but I promise you soon, your neighbor's going to be asking. And what you going to tell them? If that money is digital, so is the hustle.